wear these glasses, but I can't see.
You look good.
Oh, sheesh.
Now we live. We are currently live, ma'am. So it's nice seeing you. Now
Hi,
compared
how
to
are
being on
you?
the audio. So how things been going with you working in the hospital?
Oh, it has been tiresome. It's been overwhelming.
I
It's
bet.
just almost more that I can bear.
Oh my
And
God.
then the thing is, uh, what I was supposed to do is surgery, but
Mhm.
because of this COVID-19, they have me in the ER. I'm taking tests, and they have me all over the place. They even put me in the psych ward one time, and I said, never again.
Oh my God. When they gonna put you there?
They put me in this psych because the physicians and the nurses, they're becoming sick themselves.
Okay.
And I thank God that God has covered me because when I'm working 16 to 20-hour shifts.
Okay.
And they threw me in the psych ward in the COVID-19 psych ward at that.
Wow.
And one day, one tried to escape. It was a message, don't you ever put me in there again.
Oh my God. So is your whole team of like have anybody on your team that work in your level, have they caught it?
Yes, one or two have passed surgeons, nurses, techs. Now, I have my license to practice medicine tri state in the Northeast Coast, New York, New Jersey, Connecticut. So I'm affiliated with several hospitals, Maimonides, Yale, NYU, Danbury. So I'm just a person I'm just helping out.
Okay. Okay. So when you help out, they just rotate you in different areas.
They just rotate me. Most of the time, I'm the chief physician, so everyone has to answer to me. So I just have to go around and check on all the nurses, the staff under me. However, at times during the day, I have to have a lot of one-on-one with the patients.
Oh yes, definitely. Now,
Yeah.
what have you been doing to keep yourself healthy with you working with so many patients and everyone surrounding you having COVID?
I've been drinking a lot of tea and soup, although it's warm weather. Warm liquids kills the disease, the acids in your stomach if you're drinking something warm. So
Oh,
constantly I'm drinking warm liquid, any type of liquid, but especially warm. You have to constantly drink something warm. And being with a mask on, that really makes me drowsy and it weakens me because you have to take your mask off, and we can't really take our mask off. So
okay.
I'm wearing a mask with the respirator, but still that's not made to be worn at a long period of time. So that stresses you out physically and mentally as well. So as far as care, I'm drinking the liquids. It's prayer. Prayer is keeping me. I don't know what else. I don't work every day. I don't work every week because of the hours that I'm working. Sometimes I'm doing 7 days straight.
Ooh,
And this
is it
week
20
I did,
hours?
yes, 16 to 20 hours. This
We
week I did 3 days. They want me to come in tomorrow. I'm not sure. I will think about it. But hey, it is what it is. I'm helping someone. God has been keeping me covered. I mean,
Mhm.
honestly, I don't know what else to do but pray. I'm drinking warm liquids. I mean, my colleagues, they have been using the same precautions as myself, the PPEs, and sometimes it still slips into your system because it's really, really bad. I mean, the media is sharing a portion of what's going on, but in all actuality, they're not really sharing how really horrific this disease is, and folk think it's a joke, and it's really no joke.
Right. Well, so what are some of the symptoms that you realize that people get in a first time basis to a point they're not hospitalized and they can recover at home?
First thing, you feel like you have a common cold. You really feel like you have a common cold. So it's kind of difficult to ascertain what's going on with you. Do you have a cold? Do you have the flu? Is it COVID? Now, the unfortunate thing is you can feel well with no symptoms. That's the scary part. A
Right.
lot of people that has come into the ER, they haven't been anywhere yet they still received it. So COVID-19 has been out in the air for quite some time, and the government knew. I mean, I'm
Mhm.
going to say some things. Hope they don't get me, because when people talk, they don't
Yeah.
like me. But I need to let my black and brown brothers know what's going on. You have to protect yourself. It's bad enough, and we'll talk about this through this broadcast, health disparities amongst African Americans. But COVID-19 has been out for the longest. In all actuality, when the swine flu was here, it was here, never left, and it just worsened.
Oh,
And then in China, it's a lot of myths out there, but see, I have an advantage because not only am I a physician, I'm a research
research.
scientist. So I research a lot. I am with the WHO. So I'm learning a lot in the government, the United States government and other governments, but especially USA. They do not want to let the general public know what's really going on. So you just have to pray, really, and really be cautious, even if you're at home. I mean, you can feel nothing, but it's just, you just have to. It's, how can I say this? Because people say, okay, I have a sore throat. Yes. I have a runny nose. Yes. COVID-19 affects you. When people die from COVID-19, they are dying from heart attacks, liver failure, kidney failure. They do not tell you all of this. And some people have seizures. So it's further than the most people think it is. This is truly a deadly disease.
Yeah.
In the north, above, I would say, Virginia, it kind of leveled out, but it's still bad. And now it's about 18, I think about 21 states. The news media always try to downplay it because they don't want to scare people.
Right.
But the South and rural areas, they are seeing such a spread. And one reason of that, our young people, especially in the African American community, they think it's a joke. They don't really, and let me tell you, when they start opening up, especially in Atlanta, and this is so sad, and they need to be educated. It was about, I think, 300, 400 people at the mall in Atlanta to get the new Jordans, I think,
Yeah,
without
I saw
noise.
that. I
That, that's ridiculous. That's absurd. So where are their parents? Where are the leaders? We have to teach the young people. And they, I mean, I pass in the urban areas, and they're hanging out, playing dice. They just don't care, and no one is talking to them that this is imperative. This is serious.
Yes. So with them opening up everything in certain states right now, what are the precautions that people can take? Because some people, I know I've heard many stories that the mask, wearing a mask makes it worse,
Mhm.
or sometimes wearing a mask doesn't. So in what area should what a individual should go with playing precautions?
Well, I would say try not to really interact with anyone. Um, I know you have to go shopping, but don't just browse the stores as casual. Go in there and get what you need and get out. Wear your gloves because the disease can linger on objects at least up to 5 hours. So when you get home, wash your hands. Even in your home, just wash, 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 because the disease is spreading, and sometimes people they don't think they have it, and they do have it. So wearing a mask is imperative. You
Okay.
are not supposed to wear a mask in your home, or in your car. When you
Right.
wear a mask, that's taking away oxygen from your body.
Right.
Therefore, it's shutting your brain cells down, and then you wonder why you have a headache, you might collapse. You wear a mask when you're on the outside, when it's necessary, when you are around individuals. Even if you're going for a walk, still wear a mask because COVID-19 is airborne. When
Yeah.
you get home, take your mask off. Don't
Yeah.
sit around in the house with your mask. Don't drive in your own car with the mask.
Wow. So since you've been up close and personal, what are some of the things that you witness as far as someone on a way of passing from COVID?
The symptoms, the first thing that shuts down is the respiratory system because it's a respiratory, it affects your respiratory system immediately. And then what people don't know, it affects every part of your body, especially if you are overweight, if you already have underlying diseases. However, even if you're healthy, this disease is so strong, it can just immediately shut the functions of your body down.
Ooh.
I had a young man, nice looking man. He worked out. He came in with symptoms. He was in the hospital. We hospitalized him. We put him in ICU. Then he was on the respirator. 3 days later, he passes away. He had nothing wrong with him. He worked out. However, the disease was in him. So he got it from somewhere. His
Wow.
wife said he wore a mask. So this shows COVID has been in the air.
Right.
So he had to breathe it in, or he touched it somewhere. The wife said he went to the gym, perhaps he touched it, and then he's touching his face. So you really have to be careful where you go, what you touch, who you're around. We're in modern technology, so you need to communicate with your loved ones by Zoom, by however method you can, especially the elderly community. Now,
Yeah.
I am afraid to visit my mother, um, but I had to run an errand for her. However, I did not stay because she's elderly. She's over 70.
Right.
So, and they're prone to the disease more. And especially, I wanted to keep myself put because I went to the George Floyd funerals in North Carolina and Texas, and you still, how many people were there?
Yes.
You have to be really careful, and people are going to these funerals. And this weekend, I'm sure people are going to carry on. And what is it, July 4th is coming up, and they think it's a joke.
Yes.
And you know what? It's going to get worse. It's going to get worse in the fall. It's not a myth. It is what it is. I mean, how can it not if all these crowds? And unfortunately, although we are marching for our rights, it's spreading. That's the
Yes.
unfortunate thing. So many crowds when you're so close to so many individuals. Some have their mask on, some don't. So it's like you have to look at everybody, with a little funny eye because you're like,
Yes.
do you have it? You don't
Right.
know.
Right. And then, sometimes we see people unconsciously hug each other, shake
Exactly.
each other's hands, and it's
Exactly.
just a constant thing with everything
Hmm.
being open. It's really scary, especially
It
with
is.
it's going to get worse. Do
It's
you find of it being a cure in any type of way, or it's just always going to be here?
no, I call it a plague because, being a spiritual person as a minister, if you read the book of Revelations, it's unfolding before our eyes. And this is a plague, and it's not going to be here always. I'm saying this is a way that the Lord is trying to get our attention.
Yes.
I feel that maybe in the summer it's going to cool down some bit, and then it's going to get back worse in the fall. I really don't think this is going to go away for another year. I mean, altogether, perhaps two. And then I believe it's going to come back again, maybe years and years, because things are out here that I am not really permitted to say as a physician and a scientist with the WHO. I just want you all to be very cautious. Number one, pray. Wash your hands. Continue to wear your mask. Be healthy. Eat healthy.
Yeah.
It's just a thing that we just can't help. And as far as vaccines, there are so many companies that's trying to make these vaccines, and some of them are fraudulent.
Okay.
They have vaccines out now that people can order, and when you take the test, it'll tell you you have diabetes, or it'll tell you you're pregnant and you're not pregnant.
Wow.
So you have to be careful with the vaccines that you order because those are fraudulent vaccines. If you can order them yourself right now, do not do that. If
Right.
you want a vaccine, you need to go to your local hospital, a reputable hospital, and you get that vaccine whenever it comes out. Now, they're doing vaccines in Sweden. China thinks they have the vaccine, the best vaccine.
Okay.
Switzerland think they have one. But I was researching, and let me tell you what did I see during my research. It is a company, a pharmaceutical company, AstraZeneca. They are trying to do it. What they want to do is give about 30 million vaccines to the UK first.
Mm.
However, Bill and Melinda Gates, they are working with the WHO and various scientists. And this is the thing I want people of color to know.
Yeah.
I do not, I don't recommend it at all. Really, I don't,
Yeah.
because what's in the vaccine, it's deadly to a black person in their DNA. If you take it, do you know maybe you might become sterile? You may not be able to produce children. You might become blind. I do not recommend the vaccine at all, and it's going to be more detrimental to African Americans. They want to use us as guinea
Guinea
pigs.
pigs.
As far as the theory that there is a chip in the vaccine, there is no chip in the vaccine.
Okay.
Okay, vaccines were created. I would say, well, it was created by the Egyptians, Africans. They never want to give us any credit.
Right.
However, in the books, if you look in research books, I want to tell you the right thing, because I
Okay.
don't want to give you the wrong information now. It was a man named Edward Jenner. The books would tell you he's the first one in 1796 to have a first vaccine for the cowpox, which is not true.
True.
As you know, history has been distorted.
Yeah.
People of color always had the first of
The first
everything,
everything.
So a vaccine is a medical intervention for whatever diseases. And diseases are airborne. Diseases are really, they come about from a lot of animals, dirty animals, and unfortunately, a lot of these diseases are man-made, because if the United States government, if the people, the citizens really knew what was behind the government, you would turn against your own government.
Yeah.
They, especially people of color, they want to use you as guinea pigs. So, as I said, in 1796, Edward Jenner, he created the smallpox, and then 1885 became the rabies shot. And then after that, it was so many other vaccines. They basically made more vaccines in 1930, and then it progressed. Vaccines between anti-toxics and vaccines for tetanitis, tuberculosis. There's so many diseases out there, and they just kind of use people as a guinea pig. What they try to do is use animals first, such as monkeys and
Monkey.
rats and
Yeah.
mice rather, to use it. However, they always love to use the black community first,
Yes.
and that's just another podcast in itself.
Yes, it is. Cause I saw, I had with my learning center, they asked us, would we like to participate in the COVID mouse swap?
Mm-hmm.
And I denied it because,
Mm-hmm.
how could we make a decision for everyone in the building and we don't know how they feel about it. So
Correct.
I denied it, and then I was kind of curious. Well, with the children going back to school, will they make it mandatory to get
Uh,
vaccines?
Now that
Or you still
that's
have a
that's
decision.
controversial. Yeah, that is controversial. However, they might and they can.
Okay.
Because it's spreading more than what the media is telling you. So just prepare yourself. The vaccine might be mandatory. If they give you the option, don't take the vaccine. The swipe, it's not bad. I'm talking about a vaccine, like a
Right.
flu shot, like something the antibacterial that they shoot in you.
Right.
For the African American DNA, that is going to mess you up, your physical body.
So they
So
just basically made this specifically for the African American culture.
basically, I mean, they're going to put it out there,
Mhm.
but they really want to focus on African Americans. And it's like I said, I don't want to sound redundant, but it
Right.
is an unfortunate thing that they just target to just to kill us. Now, today we celebrate Juneteenth.
Yes.
And, it was bad enough 400 years of slavery. And then 155 years later, they still want to keep us down in bondage.
Yes.
And I want to read something to you that I researched about the Black community. I wish I had a slide to show. Maybe we can do this another time so we
Yeah.
can put a slide up so
Yes.
that people can see it. But I'm just doing my research because I feel so bad because most people, I would say 60, 70% of individuals that have the disease are African Americans, and
Wow.
they're at the highest rate who catches the COVID.
And they were saying that myth that African Americans can't catch COVID.
They're the number one. We are number one. I
Okay.
think it's one because a lot of African Americans live in urban areas where so many people together,
Yes.
and we're not educated. I mean, some people simply don't care. But when I'm saying educated, you're not educated enough about the disease.
Okay.
And people don't take the time and knowing the elders. They have to. And I'm not talking about old people. I'm talking about people my age, like over 40. These young whippersnappers, how you would say in their 20s, you could say, no, get your behind in the house.
Yes.
We listen to us because now these young people, I'm not listening to you. It's
Mhm.
bad enough the po-po wants us going. But why put yourself in harm's way hanging out with your peeps and you're going to get sick?
Mhm.
So, this is what I researched recently. The thing is that in the U.S. rate is dropped about 25% of deaths. However, because poverty, education, and housing, they take effect on the African Americans. That is why we are getting the virus at a high rate. This is why we are dying at a high rate. Now, I want to tell you a few things that you need to know. Next time we'll have slides and we'll go more in depth in it. But these are a few things, since we're talking about health disparities, COVID, that all includes in the same thing. Number one, especially to the youth, Black Americans are most likely to die from a chronic disease. Now, in my research, listen, they die more from a chronic disease than a Caucasian.
Mhm.
Why? Because they don't have the education, they don't have the finances, they don't have the resources. And a lot of times, it's racism. A lot of times it's on purpose. Sometimes it's they don't mean it, but in the back of their mind they don't care. I've had several patients that I had to go over and talk to because they were being discharged. I'm like, why are you being discharged? And I had to get after some Caucasian physicians under me because they automatically, oh, she's okay, she can go home. And then we retested them and then they had the disease.
So they just really just letting them go.
They just really letting them go and then they're spreading. They just don't care about the Black community. However, if you go to a certain hospital, if you go to Greenwich, Connecticut, they're taking care of them. But if you go to Hartford or you go to Brownsville, New York City, the urban areas, they just don't care. And they
Right.
know these people are sick and they refuse to give tests. And sometimes people are on their dying breath. Then they get on the respirator and then they die within hours. And they say, oh, she died from COVID. Well, you could have prevented that maybe a day or two ago.
Yeah, but they just refuse
They
to.
just refuse. So that's health disparities as well because the Caucasians, those who run the hospitals, thank God there are African Americans in the hospitals as myself
Yes.
to really research in this and say, what's going on? What are you doing? You know, because that's not good and they just don't care. So the next thing is I want to tell you about, we mentioned that they get chronic disease. So do you know cancer is really an ethnic group? Listen to this.
Oh,
In black, I mean, whites get cancer, but
right.
African Americans get cancer more. Why? Urban areas. These like these new 5G cell towers.
Yes,
If
I was
you
going
go
to ask
out,
you that.
yes, yes, you have. That's radiation. They're actually trying to kill us. If you go in a black neighborhood, you can go out there and research it.
Yeah,
Google it. Just go out there, go to a white neighborhood and go to a black neighborhood. They have maybe one cell tower in a white neighborhood. In a black neighborhood, it may have five or six. That's radiation.
yeah. It's just
Okay.
it messes up the insides of your body.
Yes, it does. And that gives cancer. Another thing is in urban areas, they have a lot of factories. Do you notice that? A
Yeah,
lot of factories, which ruins air. In Newark, New Jersey, I would say 95% of the children have asthma. They don't care. They know where to place these trash places where they have trash and
yeah.
places where it gives out, chemical smoke, and it's in the atmosphere.
And I notice a lot of kids have eczema real heavy, or they're diagnosed as being having Down syndrome,
Mm-hmm.
and just all types of disabilities that they are now being born with. And
Exactly.
I was like concerned about that. Does that come from them getting shots, and when they're going to their doctor's visits and everything, do it develop in that process?
I think it's lack of shots.
Okay.
You have to, let me tell you something. I'll just say over over 40. Yeah, I'm not telling my age, but I'm not that young, but I'm not that old. But over 40 years ago, that's all I'll say. My mother had to ask for specific shots. And they're like, well, how do you know that? She says, because I'm supposed to have that. You have to research if you're pregnant. If you when before you leave the hospital, the mother have to have certain shots, the baby have to have certain shots, and through the adolescent years, that child needs specific shots. So a lot of times they just don't care. They really don't care. I mean, it's sad to say, but it is what it is. They
Mhm.
do not care. This whole system, it's really systematic racism, and health disparities go hand in hand. We
Yes,
do not get the care that we're supposed to get.
yes.
This,
I would like to share with you with my recent experience.
mhm,
You know, I'm I'm supposed to be pre-diabetic,
mhm,
and but they gave me blood pressure medicine
mhm,
instead. But however, I end up experiencing a bad headache,
mhm,
anxiety, and everything, and I had to go to the hospital. When I went to the hospital, they end up checking me into the emergency, put me in a room, and they gave me fluids and some form of thing. It was called a cocktail. And
mhm,
cocktail, it had Benadryl, and I forgot the other shot that they gave me, and they also gave me Reglan, and it
mhm,
put the whole cocktail together. I probably didn't have the IV in my arm for not even a minute, and I started to feel it. And then when I was feeling it, I ended up like having a bad anxiety, like I couldn't keep still, and I kept
mhm.
shaking and moving, and then my body started to feel real hot. So
Mhm.
I pressed the button for someone to come in and help me, and
Mhm.
I waited a little while and no one had came in.
Mhm.
So what I did was I ended up taking the IV and bringing it with me to the door, and I asked someone, "Could someone please help me because I don't feel right?" They
Mhm.
looked at me and turned their head.
Really?
So I'm like, okay, I said, I don't feel right. Could somebody please come in here and help me? And
Mhm.
the lady told me, she said, no, someone will be with you in a minute. I said,
Mhm.
I don't feel right. I felt like I was losing my mind. I
Mhm.
felt like I wanted to commit suicide. I felt like
Mhm.
I was dying. I felt like I just wanted to like just start running like
Mhm.
in a serious speed.
Mhm.
I got so anxious and felt so lifeless to a point I wanted to pull my IV out my arm and just walk out.
Mhm.
I had to gain self control and not let myself go all berserk like that because I didn't want them to end up putting me in no psych ward or
Right. Right.
anything like that to make a form of an excuse to put me in there. So it was
Right.
like I was battling between the medication they gave me and my own mind. So
Right.
I had to take a lot of self control and not let
Mhm.
my mind just take over everything. But eventually this guy, he came in, he was a nurse, he
Mhm.
came in, he unconnected me from the fluid, but he
Mhm.
snatched it and he just walked right out. He didn't
Mhm.
ask me if I was okay, if I needed any help, what are my symptoms. He didn't ask
Mhm.
me anything. And then I asked someone, I said, is somebody going to come in here? I said,
Mhm.
"Look, at this point, I just want to leave."
Right.
So the nurse that did connect me to everything, she came in and she told me it was the Reglan because sometimes people react differently from it, and it makes you
Mhm.
have all the symptoms that I told her how I was feeling. But
Mhm.
they checked me out so fast. I never been discharged that fast. And
Mhm.
ironically, it was kind of weird because when I was in emergency, it was like all the curtains was pushed back, all the doors was closed. And it was like 10 nurses, doctors, EMTs. There was so many people in the hallway just there able to help me, but they refused to.
Mhm.
And it like really just it scarred me, honestly. It
I
really
understand.
did.
I'm sure. I'm sure that would because first of all, the way your body reacted, and it was something else in there that they really wanted. It's several medications that they probably put in there. I would say it was one or three additional something they put in there for you. Actually, they just wanted you to shut up.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm just trying to tell you, they just want you to be calm, don't say anything. They didn't approach it the correct way.
Yeah, it was like they were upset. I feel
Right.
like they were upset because I was aware of what
Correct.
was going on. So if
Right.
I would have just laid there, I
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't even be here today and then tell
That's right.
my family I had COVID.
They said you had COVID.
No, I'm saying if I wouldn't have moved around and something
Oh,
happened to me, they
okay.
probably would have told my family.
Oh, of course, that's what they do. That's
Yeah,
exactly what they do. And I'm glad you shared that because ask them, it's your body. What are you giving me? Tell me what that's about.
right.
Don't just say, oh, don't just put your arm out here. Oh, I'm giving you something. What are you giving me? Even if you don't know the terminology, explain. It's your body. You
Mhm.
tell whoever's attending to you, your physician. Some physicians have the audacity to say, you're not smart enough. No, it's your body.
Right,
They're not God. God
right.
gives man the wisdom, but some of them are so cocky and have an attitude. So
Mhm.
listen, whatever the doctor prescribes you, what's this for? Never take a prescription and you don't ask a question.
No, well,
Okay.
that's why I'm gonna call you.
Okay. Thank you. You have, and they don't like
I'll
it when
call
you
you.
when you speak up. I was thinking, I was like, did you have your cell with you that day? Because you could have called me and said I was your auntie or your big sister,
I
and then I
know,
would have straightened it out. You should have called me.
I know. And now I wasn't thinking straight. I really wasn't
But
thinking.
they had that medication in you
Yes.
because you were aware, and they just don't care. I'm telling you, they don't care. They're like,
No.
okay, let's just shut her up. They really wanted you maybe just to fall asleep or something, but they put the wrong mixture in there. And then the way you reacted, at least you had enough energy to calm your, at least mind control, because
Mhm.
they would have probably put you in the psych ward.
Yes,
They
and that's
really,
what was
they
on
don't,
my mind.
I hate to say it, they really don't care. It's just so unfortunate. And you have to have someone to be your advocate when you're in a state when you're ill.
Yes. Yes, and it was so crazy because I had FaceTime my husband, and it was like
Hmm.
I had to calm down. It was like he was ready to just run in there because no one can come in.
Right, right,
So he was just ready to just break in
right, right.
because I just felt so awkward. But I did like a detox cleansing because
Mhm.
after the fact, my body was so drained. So
Yes,
like
yes.
I just couldn't do nothing. All I wanted to do was like sleep, but I wouldn't let
Mhm.
myself sleep all
Mhm.
day. I
So
just
who knows what they put in there?
yeah, yeah.
And they sometimes they just choose people to say, let's try this one on her and see what works. I'm trying to tell you. Now I've been
Mhm.
in healthcare for so, oh my goodness gracious. From 12 years old, I volunteered at Maimonides Hospital in Brooklyn, New York. Been at the hospital so long. They let me bless there. That's my main one. However, I graduated from Clara Barton High School in Brooklyn, New York, and it still is Clara Barton High School of Health Professions. And they always had a program where you can have join a program for nurses aid, LPN, medical assistants, and it's health profession. So when you graduate, you have your certificate and a college diploma. So when I graduated, I was a 16-year-old CNA. So immediately that summer, I went and did the LPN course. And while I was in a special program in high school, I was afforded to go to college at the same time. So I'm in Club Barton, I'm going to Kingsborough Community College in Brooklyn, New York. So I graduated already like with an associate's. So I had that advantage in nursing. So I was a nurse, then I went on to get RN nurse for years, years, years. Then I became a nurse practitioner. All at the same time, I understand on every level of nursing through my college years, I worked. I worked in the home as a caregiver. So I was like, I know every level how it is to be one-on-one as a caregiver, a home health aide. I know how sometimes they take advantage of nurses' aides. I understand the role of an LPN. I understand the role of an RN. And I still would have been an NP, nurse practitioner, but God rest my grandmother's soul. She says, you are writing prescriptions. Why don't you just go on and be the real thing? So that's when I went on to become a physician. And I say I'm your ultimate nerd because I just love school. I went to school, school, school. And I was just blessed and had wonderful teachers that helped me through it. And I chose surgery because I always sewed up my dolls and I always wanted to fix them and I packed them up. So that's like I want to do this to real people. I just want to help people. And the reason why I picked cancer oncology because a lot of people in my family passed away from that.
Okay.
So I mean, I love what I do. However, it is draining. It's
Yeah,
draining,
I bet
and
it is.
and now yesterday I had a superb opportunity to work with. I don't know if you saw it on Facebook. I'd never been in the room with all sisters with
Yes, I saw
people through
that.
surgery,
I
and we
saw
just
that.
enjoy.
I was like, yes.
Yes, we do exist. So it was a nurse tech, it was a RN, and it was another surgeon. And we were all Christians, and we were in the operation room. And we made that patient, he is recovering well, and he was so happy. And he was a person of color. And I think that cheered him up even more because
Yes.
he
He
saw
like,
we
I
were the
feel
ones
safe.
Right. It's like Wakanda, you know, for real. And especially with all of this, let me tell you, if I go to work tomorrow, it's going to be in Connecticut and I'm going to wear my Wakanda cap
Okay.
because I am in that mood because they pushing me
Oh my God.
with all this
You
racism.
gotta send me that picture.
I'm gonna post it if I go to work because they are actually. I know I'm off a little bit, but the health disparities they're really getting on my nerves. And they're really showing out
I
because
bet.
of the George Floyd. They spitting at us now. So
Wow.
the Caucasian patients they getting worse. They cussing at us. I mean, it's getting bad. And then the clients they're coming out. I mean, the your coworkers they are showing
Yeah,
out.
and I was getting ready to ask you, like,
They
how
are man, and they have the nerve. Like I'm the charge. I'm the chief physician here, and then you're gonna have these residents. What you want? Like, are you serious? But
right.
you have to keep your composure and your professionalism. Which
Mhm.
I just want to put on my Black Panther. I want to do something so bad. You know what I mean?
Be like, I'm taking care of you.
Yeah. So, like this is not right, but I memo all my I memo all my black the nurses and stuff when I go to the hospitals and I'm like, well, I'm on shift tonight. So we see each other, we like, ugh. So the white ones, they like, y'all doing it. And then some of them have the nerve to reenact George Floyd. I mean, they're going crazy.
Wow. So, what was your experience like when you went to his funeral?
I cried, I boo-hooed because little Gianna, everybody knows she became popular because that's his
Yeah.
baby child. She says, my daddy changed the world. Now her and her mother Roxy are my cousins on my mother's side. So
Okay.
I went to support her and Roxy. But people had to support me. I was crying more than them
Oh
because
my
it was so
God.
stressful. I call myself helping. But when you viewed the body, that it was so many emotions that came up.
So they left the open casket.
In North Carolina, it was not an open casket.
Okay.
In Texas, of course they had the viewing. They had the viewing in North Carolina, but for the North Carolina service, it was not open. In
Okay.
Texas, they closed the casket once the service began, after everybody marched in. But it's just looking at it that, my mother marched in the 60s and all these, she's a baby boomer,
Yeah.
and she boo-hoos all the time. And the town that she lives in Connecticut is Waterford. The child, the KKK marching.
I remember you told me you was
I'm like, oh my God. And it's like she didn't even want to go out.
yeah,
It's
and
bad.
you got pulled over too in
Oh
your Bentley.
gosh.
They was
I
wondering what.
don't even like to drive to Connecticut because even if you had a Toyota, but I like my fancy cars. I like my Rolls and my Porsche and but I can't do that because they say you stole it. They always lie and say you fit the prescription,
Yeah.
I'm like, are you serious?
Wow.
And it's getting worse. And you say who you are. They don't care who you are.
Mm-hmm.
And it's getting bad even in Brooklyn. They are showing out. So it's like you really have to pray and you just have to say, Lord, am I going to be next?
Wow.
Look at the young lady in your city. She's in her car
Yes.
in Ohio and she just gets shot because of racism.
Yes. Actually, they end up doing some form of breaking news yesterday. And
Hmm.
I guess it was three young black African Americans that shot her.
Are you serious?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, that is so unfortunate.
Yes. I guess the guy the white guy that they did see, I
Hmm.
think he was doing CPR and he just left this
Oh,
afterwards. So I guess that's where they got that particular description from.
oh my goodness.
Another.
And see, a lot of times, you know what? It's already a race war,
Yeah.
but these young people, they're coaxing it. They're just making up stories and lies just to get people more upset. We're already upset.
Yes. Yes. And we already protesting and doing
Yes.
everything. So it's to the point we have to play precautions on when things do occur and when things do happen, and we have to get the full story.
Correct.
before we start
Absolutely.
assuming things. Because I was talking to my husband. I'm like, yes, a lot of incidents do be wrong with the
Mm-hmm.
police force. However, some of them, some people do resist and they do not cooperate. But however,
Mm-hmm.
we need to teach the Black community and let them know what to
Absolutely.
do when you're getting pulled over so
That's right.
you won't get caught up in getting yourself killed and those
Mm-hmm.
type of situations. And then when they go back on a video, it'll show your cooperation,
That's right.
just like the young man in Atlanta, Georgia.
Atlanta. Exactly. Exactly.
Yes. And he cooperated with everything they said. He spoke with
Mm-hmm.
kindness and
Mm-hmm.
everything. And we have to continue to do that, even though we don't know if we're going to get ready to live or die.
That's right. That's right. Right. Because the police, they just want any excuse to shoot you.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
like we're a target and it's just hunting season.
Yes. It definitely is.
It's bad enough, we're talking about health disparities, but this all links. It's all systematic racism. I mean, like, you're going out to the store, you may get shot. Then you have COVID-19. And then say if you just have a heart attack or a stroke, they still might not take care of you properly. I can give you an example. Years ago, when my mother's mother was living, and this is when I was. Let me see, was I a physician then? Yes, I was. Um, this was in a hospital in Brooklyn, and my grandmother was having a stroke, the seizures and everything, and they just pushed her to the side. I'm like, "Are you serious?
Wow.
Are you?" And I had to carry on so bad, and I don't advise anyone to do this, but I got so upset. Do you know I was smaller in size then? I had to jump on the nurse's station and act like a crazy person. Like, you better go get her. Because if she dies, it's gonna be one. Don't do what I did. But
Yes.
I'm just saying. I'm like, look here. Because I didn't say anything who I was. They're like, okay, it's your grandmother. But why should you have to get all crazy and ghetto
Yes.
to get attention? And I'm
Yes.
like, and then I'm like, oh my God, look how you doing. You standing on our things. I'm like, my grandma's already dying.
Mm.
Like, so they put her in the corner.
Wow.
You see what I mean? The
Yeah.
Black community.
And I
And
think also
mm,
I've seen we really don't see kids wanting to be doctors and lawyers
no,
and
no.
officers, firefighters. We don't hear them talk about becoming those things. Like
Mm-hmm.
everything is about social media and streets, negative
Mm-hmm. Negativity.
that, and it's not to a point we're not educating them enough to let them know it's important for you to be placed in these positions. You
That's
need
right.
to be on the in the council or a mayor or just different seats because
That's
it's
right.
so important.
It is absolutely, and it's an unfortunate thing that history has been distorted. They don't know that we come from kings and queens.
Right.
No, the young people don't know about Reconstruction. They don't know anything about the Reconstruction period. And what the Reconstruction period was, it was about, I would say, 5 years after the Emancipation Proclamation. Each year, first they were allowed they were free, and then they began to buy property, and then they would begin to vote. And then we have to talk about this again because that includes the Dred Scott case. And they don't understand Reconstruction. There were senators, Black senators, that served prominent people. And then we have Black Wall Street. There are several uh, places in America that had reputable neighborhoods that had their own banks, and
Yeah.
especially in Oklahoma, Texas, different places. And we don't know about that. It's
Mhm.
plenty of scientists. And one thing I want to say is, I don't know why Caucasians don't like us. If that's the case, they might as well, and I'm not being funny, they might as well just erase from the planet Earth, because everything we use every day, a
It's
Black person made.
from
You
us.
can take your child on a walk, everything. You can point out, look, the lawnmower, the Black person made. The car, the remote to get in the car, the traffic light, even products we eat. potato chips, peanut butter, everything. The
Everything.
iron board, iron, everything. It's like everything. It was the pattern to a black person. Even our fast food chain restaurants. It the Colonel for KFC took the recipe from a black person.
Yeah.
McDonald's, everything, Burger King, all these places were founded by blacks. However, they didn't have the finances or the
Yeah.
support, and some of them sold their ideas. That's the unfortunate thing
For something so small.
for something so small.
Yes.
And me, it's just, this thing just ruffles my feathers because I don't have to look in a history book to know about a king or a queen. Even though I am a mixed stew, I was born in Brooklyn, New York, raised on Long Island, New York. I have lived different places. However, I think I can get along with anybody because I have several cultures in my bloodstream. And as far as being kings, we come from kings and queens. My great grandfather, which is my mother's grandfather, was a king of the Oyo Kingdom, Nigeria, Africa. Now,
Wow.
I went back and they welcomed us. So I am a crown princess. My name is Abiola. So I'm Princess Abiola of the Oyo Kingdom. I mentioned this because he was a king, one of the greatest kings in history. And when I went back, they said, we were wondering what happened to him. He was kidnapped,
Wow.
sold 3 times in America. And his last slave master's name was Crawley, and that was in Virginia. So
Wow.
that's my mom. So I don't have to read about that. And then we have pictures of yokes around his neck. We see pictures of the stripes on his back where he was whipped. So how is that? I mean, I feel it. That's in my lineage. We all come from royalty, but I mean, I'm that close
You
to it.
there.
I'm right
You
there.
there.
And for
Is
all of
that,
this to be going on,
is that how you end up experiencing going to all 7 continents?
well, I experienced that because that has to do with the ministry part.
Okay.
My grandparents, they ministered and planted churches. So when I global, like everybody now is global now because of the
Yes.
pandemic. But before all of this happened, I hate to be like people said, been there, done that, but it's true. I did the footwork. Thank God for social media where the world can see you. But before all of this, as a child, I traveled with my grandparents and my mother. And so that's how I began to travel the world because I'm continuing to live out, that's in my lineage. So I'm still planting churches and opening clinics and helping, the people of color on every continent. And it's not just in the United States of America. It's all over the
All over
world.
the world.
Brazil, and people, it's not just the continent of Africa. People don't understand or they don't know about. There are blacks. It's history. We can do about 3 or 4 other podcasts
Yes.
because mostly blacks came from, they were everywhere. The original Chinese was black. The original Russian was black. People don't know these things because it's not in our history books.
Right.
And what Europeans do, they went into these countries and they made it with the black people. And then as soon as it became to get lightening out. And then it's just so much we don't know. They would take the
It
blacks
took our whole history and
and start it.
theirs.
Exactly. So even now, there are black Russians. You're like, are you serious? Really, black Russians, not people that they are there and they treat them bad. In England, they treat now a lot of them, the ones in England, they are from the islands in Africa, mostly Nigeria and Ghana. But what I'm saying is the systemic racism is all over the world. They do not give them health care at all. Some of them have to fend for themselves. I mean, it's really bad. I mean, that we have to suffer because we are in the image of Christ. If
Yeah.
they only knew, you know,
It's
they
kind
don't want to, like, that even people don't even know that the Pope, he prays to Black Madonna and Black Jesus. People don't know that because he knows that's the real thing. And then years, if you research, they lightening the angels like they made them white years ago. The painters, they know what it was. They know the deal. They would make brown angels, brown Jesus, and they're like, we don't want their people to know. Just like King James, we see at the King James Bible, it's
Yeah.
a lot that we do not know because he felt that he was the king and that people should not know as much as he did.
Mm-hmm.
So because I'm a natural researcher, not only for scientific purposes, it's a lot of things I'm just looking and I'm searching. I'm like, wow, if we as a people knew who we are, we should be able to get together. And in all actuality, it is more Black people in the world than Caucasians.
Yes.
And if we unite it, we can rule the world, but we can't unite even within ourselves.
Yeah.
You
A lot of
know?
people say that's the Willie Lynch syndrome that we,
Yes, absolutely. It's like how they say crabs in a barrel.
yes.
So I mean,
Someone is on top,
uh-huh,
everybody want to be on top instead of accepting
exactly.
the fact that just let them run this and let me position myself here. And
Mm-hmm,
it's all gather together in so many ways. But
mm-hmm.
it's just like as our culture, we always want to take over
Right.
something and throw each other under the bus and not
Mm-hmm.
accept the fact that this person is gifted in this, you're gifted in this.
That's right.
Just keep it going. Other
That's right.
cultures do it, but us.
Exactly. And the thing is, white Caucasians, they don't know the difference. Unfortunately, in their mind, you're still a nigger, plain and simple. You have
Yes.
to. I'm not saying to call you, and I get after young people. Now, let me tell you, it's two ways you can look at this. I've heard a young lady saying, where the young people, this was her excuse, however, it's true, but I don't really agree with it. She's saying because, and I believe she told me Niger or one other country that meant black and powerful nigger. But I'm like, well, I don't know about that because they use that term in America to downgrade us. You know how you say, my nigga, you know, the black American culture,
Right.
nigga, you my nigga. It's cute. But you know what? I'm trying to get people to stop saying that because
Yes.
it's downgrading. I
And
know
then
for
other
us,
people
it's for
comfortable to use
right,
it too. So like you guys say it, but then they
correct,
say nigger or negro.
right, right,
Like, no, they want to just fight. But
right,
like we need to practice the fact that we can't use it upon each
right,
other.
right,
No,
right,
why we can't say, hey king, hey
right,
queen.
right. And excusing what I'm going to say, why do sister girls be like, hey, bitch,
Yeah.
you're not a bitch, you're
Yep.
not a nigga. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
Hey, and that is not cute.
Yes.
Because if you know what your words, whatever you speak is, it is so. You got to be careful what come out your mouth.
Yes. Because the tongue is very powerful.
Yes, it is.
It what you just said. You're
Yeah,
gonna
because
for it.
when God created the earth, He spoke it. So whatever you speak, like even the I can't breathe movement, I understand that, but think about it. You're speaking it, so you should start able to say, I can breathe.
Breathe.
I can breathe.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, we talked about this is like five other podcasts because
Yes.
everything kind of always intertwines into one.
We talk, we
Ex-
talk.
Exactly, but it is what it is, and the Black community needs to know this.
Yes, they do.
And I want to say to any Caucasian that's watching, now I posted on social media, and I've been, especially LinkedIn, people had a lot of Caucasian supporters. They don't thumbs me anymore, and I don't care. Because what I said was, I'm watching you. If you're a clergy person, if you're an business associate, and you have not said anything about racism, then I'm seeing your true colors. So a
Mhm.
lot of them unfriended me, so they show how they feel.
Yeah,
And especially,
you
yeah,
have
especially
the right to speak your truth,
that's right.
and that's your culture, and
That's
that's
right.
how you feel.
Hmm. Yes. And if you can't, you can't say, "Oh, you my friend," but you don't talk about it. This is what happened. Why racism is still around all these years later because America has swept it under the rug and have not discussed it. And
Hmm.
this is a major issue. I really feel it's going to be another civil war.
Oh yeah,
And
definitely.
then the president, he's stirring the pot, and
Yes,
he does not care.
and it's so crazy. It's like so many people support him, but so many people don't but
Mhm.
I feel like he will cheat his way regardless
Oh, yes.
to do another 4-year term.
Oh, yes, of
It's
course.
like in these times right now, we need to put things in place to prepare ourselves
That's
for
right.
when that time comes and
Mhm.
continue to educate ourselves on so many things as far as our history and how to survive. Because
Mhm.
a lot of people we lost our ways on knowing how to survive due to materialistic things.
That's right.
During like food, we have to eat a certain type of food. What
Mhm.
other ways can you cook food? Have you gone hunting, been in the
Mhm.
woods? We have to go back into our roots on
Right.
survival mode because we don't know the direction. We have an idea of the direction we're going into, but we still
Mhm.
have to prepare ourselves
That's
for
right.
that.
That's right.
Yes.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So
Now, I
it
want to say something before you ask me something else.
okay.
Please be careful and prayerful when you vote. I want to tell you that voting is imperative. However, it's like we are at a in a position where we just are really. I'm trying to find the words to say. I'm gonna play it simple. Say it simple. We're really messed up in our choice because on one hand you have Trump, on the other hand you have Biden. We have to just hold our nose when we go vote because if you did your research now, Biden is very friendly towards me. However, if you know his background, just because he's a Democrat, in all actuality, he's really worse than Trump. I'm just putting that out there.
I was saying the same thing, and then I saw that P Diddy, because I know you used to be in his
Mm-hmm,
circle.
mm-hmm.
I saw how he was telling people you
Yes,
need to be careful who you voted for.
yes,
Don't vote for him just to put, Trump out. You have
right.
to do your research and a background check on these different candidates that are
Mm-hmm,
trying to run for a presidential, seat. And
mm-hmm.
I've seen a few things in the racial aspect of Biden, and he's quite he have his evil ways.
Even when he was the vice president, did you know, were you aware that he said, well, Obama is not like the rest of the blacks because he's light skinned? Did you know he said that?
No, I didn't
Oh
know.
yes, he talks out his mouth all the time. He thinks he's saying something, and he's really making it worse. And I think people are overlooking it, and some people just don't know how he really is. Like I
Hmm.
said, he's friendly towards me. He goes to NAN, which is National Action Network. He just wants to make his face
Right.
seen amongst the black people. However, his ethics, his thoughts, he says a lot of nasty things about black,
Yes.
and he
And
really doesn't care.
he
They all
very,
blame.
did you see him on the Breakfast Club with
No.
May? He
Mm-mm,
looked so uncomfortable during that interview. And
mm,
it just, I don't know. It's like he gives off a different type of vibe
mhm,
compared to Trump. And I
mhm.
do feel like he is a lot worse. I
He
do.
is. And I think we just have to prepare just to have 4 more years of Trump. That's
Yeah.
it. I mean, because I think a lot of people they won't vote, and
No,
if they won't vote, and I know they're probably going to rig it anyway.
yes,
And
definitely.
it's like, what am I to do? That's really you want to exercise. People fought to vote. You have to
Mhm,
vote, but when it comes to that, you just have to say, Lord, what am I to do? And I
mhm.
want to say, just because he's a Democrat, don't vote. We already know how Trump is. But
Yes,
then we don't want to get somebody who's worse. He's like trying to play us,
yes. You
you
already
know?
know. You already know. He can be like,
I
And
mean, I'm not going to wear my Make America hat, but I'm just saying,
yeah.
be careful, be cautious, pray about this thing.
Yes, and we have to constantly do that.
Yes,
We really do. We have to stay anointed. You
that's right.
and what I have noticed before the pandemic and everything, a lot of people didn't believe in God.
That's right. That's
They
right. It is.
didn't. But as time gone by,
Mhm.
daily, I see more and more people like God this, God that. And that's exactly what he wanted us to do.
That's right. That's
That's
right.
exactly what he wants us to do. And we have to understand that
That's
and build
right.
our own personal relationships with him.
That's right. You know, the scripture says, you know, in Chronicles, if my people who are called by my name humble themselves and pray and seek my faith and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from you. Let me tell you, you will hear from heaven and you will heal the land. God wants us to seek him. America, the world needs to seek the Lord, but especially America. It
Yes.
has to come back to God, and God had to do something to get our attention.
Yes. So with you being over, you oversee, what is it, 2,500 churches?
It's almost like more than that now.
Is it?
Mhm.
So have you experienced any different type of relationship or vibe with individuals, because you deal with so many cultures? So
Right.
have you dealt with any racism, or you've noticed things in your colleagues from you being over everything?
Well, the leaders, they are not as bad.
Okay.
However, when I speak to maybe succeed, you have the bishop, and then you have a pastor underneath them that I have to interact with. They may not be too keen.
Okay.
You know, and I had to have several Zooms about this, and a lot of them really, you know, it ruffled their feathers. And like, you got to get it together. I mean, we had some heated discussions, and I had to give them scripture, and I had to reprimand them. It was just, it's something you cannot love God and not love your fellow man. You
Mm-hmm.
cannot be under a person of color who is your leader, you know, and you don't like my type of people. Like,
Mm-hmm.
what are you doing? And I had to have several Zooms on this. And basically, it's not the main leader over the region. It's the ones under them that's giving me that pushback.
Yeah.
So my thing is like, hey, you don't want, I don't beg anybody. Even Jesus said, I knock on the door. Jesus is not going to force you. I love to have you in our circle of fellowship. But if you think this way, you have to pull out because I will not tolerate this in the organization.
So how have you been able to prioritize your time working
Oh,
20-hour shifts in the hospital, and then you're maintaining a huge company, and you have, I mean,
I
what?
am juggling. See, the thing is, I'm not working every week.
Okay.
So when I do work, when COVID was really bad in New York, I was working like every other week.
Okay.
Now what I'm doing is like 2 or 3 days every other week.
Okay. Okay.
So I'm juggling so much. Thank God for Zoom and Stream and all these other things where you can connect with people, conference calls. I
Yes.
am juggling. It seems to me that I'm more busy, I think, because I can't go to these places and I have to send out all these emails. And I just have to, the Lord just helps me. And I have to write down what I'm going to do and say, okay, today I'm going to work on this nonprofit. Today, this is what, and I time myself. If I know I have to make this call, okay, this is going to be half an hour. If I have to make this Zoom, I schedule myself. But then I also give me time too, because
Yes.
you absolutely go
Been doing that.
bonkers.
Yes.
And because of this COVID-19, years and years, people say you need a therapist. I'm like, I don't need a therapist. You know, that's a culture thing. We're not crazy. It's not saying we're crazy, but if
Uh-huh.
you're doing so much, you need someone to talk to. So
Hmm.
I have my therapist because you need to release what's in you. Because if you have so much built up in you, yes, you pray. But
Yes.
I'm an advocate for therapy. Now, I want to say some people get things mixed up. A psychologist is a licensed therapist where you talk to. However, if you need a sedative, and I will say, I'm not crazy. The thing is, I have so much going on. The thing is,
Yes.
I don't want to get so my adrenaline rushes. So I take a small doses of sedatives just to keep me calm and cool. That's why I'm full. So therefore, you see a psychiatrist. The Black community have this thing, well, I'm not crazy. You're not crazy, but your mental health is important.
Yes.
You cannot do anything. That would just break down your entire body. You would become anxious. You can have a heart attack. Stress can kill you.
Mm-hmm.
So never feel that, oh, if I'm seeing a psychiatrist or a psychologist, that I'm crazy. You are not crazy. Well, some people might be a little crazy, but you're not crazy.
that's another form of you taking care of yourself,
Absolutely.
putting yourself first.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yes,
Absolutely.
and
Because
it's so
mhm,
important. It's extremely important for us to do that on a
yes,
daily basis.
yes. And I found myself, I have a cousin and she just laughs about everything. And I'm like, why do you laugh? She said, you know what else you're going to do? And let me tell you, I have become her. I laugh and they're like, what's wrong with you? I'm like, that's all I can do. Yeah, I
Yeah.
just have to laugh. You see me, I laugh about
Yes,
this
you
whole
do.
thing
You
because
do.
I have to. I have to laugh.
Yes,
With
you
the
do.
things I encounter, no, I have to. What I'm gonna do? Because the way I really feel inside,
Yeah.
I'm not permitted to say this on live. You know, I have to keep my professionalism because you're angry, you're mad, you're sad because of this racism.
Mm,
You're upset about that your people are dying from COVID. So I have mixed emotions. There's just so much going on.
yes. How has it been as far as you donating to the community? I saw that you were doing grants and everything. So how is
Absolutely.
that coming along?
That's coming along well. Now, as you know, I have 7 nonprofits. So
Yes.
at this time, if you will go on my website, we do certain things for each nonprofit. But this time we've come together and we're donating to the people of the world for COVID issues.
Okay.
I had a deadline. However, we are still giving grants to different organizations, to individuals. People get mad with me. I don't pick. My job is to get the resources.
Right.
I am blessed to be connected to the wealthy. And a lot of people, they just ask the average Joe. And most people now, in this economic time where people don't have money.
Yeah.
However, I am blessed to be connected. Thank God. That's how I get my money and I'm able to give the grants because these people are my private donors.
Yes. I'm a
And they don't give. They don't give. It's so do you know how many millionaires and billionaires there are? But they don't give. Where are these black stars that all the children go buy their record, their CDs? Like, what are they doing? You support these people, even movie stars. What are they doing? They have the money. So
mhm.
I have these CEOs and these people, and it's a lot of people like in other countries, like India and Pakistan, and they support me
Mhm.
because they know that if they give it to me that I would distribute it properly.
Mm,
And a lot of people get mad, but they ask me for um I would say, I mean, it's just ludicrous things. Why
yeah,
don't
I
ask
really
me for
understand.
television? Do not ask me for a television.
Yeah, I
Okay.
think you did. Didn't you do a car in the house before?
That
Or
was for some probably this was last year, and I always say I'm not going to do it, and I have to stick to it because people they figure I'm the bank. I don't have to give you nothing.
right.
But but that's my heart. I observe people, and in a way, we my team, they look at you. If you really, really have that need, they research who's writing. If you have a website, they really look at it. Like if you're doing okay, we may give you $500, and then you get mad. Like I asked for 5,000, you didn't need the 5,000. Maybe somebody in Ohio needed that 5,000.
Mhm.
So we look at the need. The man is saying, one man, I need a new TV, and
That
I need yes, I'm like I need a new TV, and I need the.
the
I'm
washer
like
and dryer too.
yes, washers, dryer, and these young people they see the posts and they think you're stupid. A lot of the young Africans they think Americans are stupid. These young boys, I want a cell phone, I want sneakers. No,
No,
like
I'm
don't try to play me like this. I'm professional. I am a person of color, but I am a professional. I'm a loving person. I'm down to earth. But when it comes to that, I'm not going to give you money to throw away. And I want people to know, whoever is listening, if you have this need, 9 times out of 10, we're not going to give it to you directly. What the need is, we're going to pay for ourselves because
mm,
a lot of people get the money and they just throw it away.
yes, they do.
I gave money to a young lady. She blew it. She asked me to pay her rent. She went and had a party with it, coming back to me, my rent. I said, I gave you money for rent. Oh, I had a party. Well,
Well,
I'm sorry, I can't help you.
that's your bad.
Right. And I don't give it. You have an orphanage? Okay, tell me. We'll buy the rice. And people get mad because they want the money themselves. You need something, you need a van, we're gonna give you the van. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean?
Yes, I know exactly what you mean.
And then I need somebody. I can't give it to you. Do you have a board? Like, I'm really strict on that because people get the money and they'll use it for themselves. And I was reported to me. I gave to a nonprofit, and the person in charge of the nonprofit used about 90% for herself and just gave a little bit to them. And I was like, and I
Yeah,
have to get
I,
after it.
I see that in a lot of nonprofits.
Mm-hmm.
They get funded so much money, but you don't see it come out
It's true.
to the community. But besides, they're giving it to their staff or themselves or
That's right.
other people that's on top. You
Right.
know, they dip in many of that.
They do.
I've seen it happen on so many occasions,
So
and
true.
it's really unfair when you have individuals like me and you that's
Mm-hmm.
out there that's really doing the work. You
Mm-hmm.
know, so, but it's good that you are fortunate enough to have the connections and the individuals that's willing to donate and help along the way with you having different nonprofit organizations.
And another thing I want to say, if you are someone that I think uh, that is capable to meet some of these wealthy people, please don't embarrass me.
No,
I can give you an
you don't
example.
say that.
Please do not embarrass me because if I say, because most of the time I don't connect them with the people. If sometimes I'm like, okay, I want you to meet the people and they can work directly with you.
Yeah.
I had a man who wanted to get some extra money, and I said, look, you have an easy $50,000. They want you to be a master of ceremonies and they want you to work on some voiceovers and all of that. Do you
Mm,
know he didn't show and say, oh, I had a meeting with Bishop so and so? Well, Bishop so and so is not paying any of your bills. He left the people just sitting there, and the people like, what kind of person, is he? And that embarrassed me.
then you have to, you know, answer to them or
Like,
you vouch for them and
right, exactly. And then I had,
everything bad.
and then please, we love the Lord, but listen, learn how to speak proper etiquette. Do not go to meetings speaking ebonics. That's in everyday life. What you say around your family and friends, I'm talking just being myself. However, when I'm in a meeting, I know how to conduct myself. I know how to speak. I'm just being myself here on live. Don't go to meetings. Somebody, yeah, dang, yup. Don't do that. Yes, son, you heard me. Don't do all that stuff. And then
Right.
if you're religious, learn other phrases then. And don't be sucking it to, yes, bless God.
Yeah.
I had a young man to go to a meeting. He's supposed to be intelligent, but he's just been in church all his life. And it's unfortunate. He just knows church lingo. And he went and there's like, we want to help you. Dr. Bonaparte says you're a young man. Yes, bless God. Like they're like, are you serious? Praise God. And he said, how you doing? I'm blessed and hallelujah, hallelujah. I'm like, you can't do that in front of
Oh,
business people. No, you cannot do that. They do that. And I'm like, are you serious?
oh my God.
And then how we talk. We just go all over the place.
Yeah.
But this is good for people to hear. Another thing, if you are in a church that's just shout, shout, shout all day, where's the word? You need the word of God. Listen, after you finish bucking, you need to pay your bills. So
Mm,
get some education.
yeah.
Don't go. I knew a lady. I give you so many examples. I knew a lady that went to court, and her son was in jail, and she stands up and she tells the judge, he's gonna get out. And the judge was like, "Listen, he going in for another 2 years. You'll be acting like no, like don't do
Because they don't be caring. They
they
don't
don't,
be
they
caring
don't
about
care.
that.
They
No,
don't care.
they
So
don't
my
care.
thing is to people of color, especially church folk, conduct yourself properly, govern yourself accordingly. There is a time and place for everything.
Yes.
Even in everyday world, like all that bucking and sweating. You can go to church, have all these conference, but where's the money? I had a young man ask me for money. If you can't afford a conference, then doggone it, don't do the conference.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a shame that you have to do a fried fish and chicken to do don't do it.
Yes.
Have resources. I mean, money is important. Have the connections. What I'm saying is get finances. Finances are out there. Don't say, oh, we can't get it because we're black, but they're there. You
Yeah.
just have to do your research and be connected to the right people. You might have to go someplace and play golf. You might have to go someplace where the only person of color. Get out of the box. Get
Mm-hmm.
educated. This is modern times. At least get you an associate. Do something. I mean, have a business. Stop going, how they say, to the man. Get your own business, especially now in this pandemic. You should be investing, even if you start out with
Take
penny stocks.
ownership. I
You
know
know,
you gotta buy land.
land, absolutely. Real estate is
Yeah.
imperative. Yes,
Own that building.
own it. Exactly.
Yes.
And stop renting, owning. Do you know how much money you can make on the net? Do you know how much money? And I have to do that Zoom because I have to teach because I've just been so busy. How much money you can make on the net? I've made thousands of dollars. I gave it right into the nonprofits to help. But it's so many ways that you can make money. People are like, I'm bored. How can you be bored? And you have a computer or a phone.
Mm-hmm.
You can sell weed and wigs and make thousands of
I
dollars.
took your advice on a lot of things.
Yes.
Yes.
Invest. This is the time to invest, especially for people of color.
Yes, it is. Yes. Well, I'm gonna let you get some rest because I know you tired after your long shift.
Yeah, because we went way over time, but
I know, didn't we?
don't, but we've been talking about something we're supposed to be talking. I think I covered the health disparities. I mentioned the vaccine. I talked about the chip.
Yes.
What I
Juneteenth.
didn't speak about, I guess we'll close out Juneteenth. Those of you on social media, I, I wrote out an entire history of Juneteenth. However, to summarize it, today is 155 years later. Let me just backtrack some and I'll tell you why the emancipation. Now, first of all, on December 31st, 1862, this is the reason why Blacks have the tradition of watch night service. That night before, they were waiting for President Abraham Lincoln to make the decision whether they were free or not. So they all went to church and prayed. So now you know why watch night service is imperative. Find yourself somewhere in church, or even if you want to party, find yourself on your knees when the new year come in, because that's a part of our culture. That's where watch night comes in. Then the next day, January 1st, 1863, the Emancipation Proclamation was put in, and then it's supposed to have been everyone was supposed to be free. So there were two states, two regions. A lot of people don't know about North Carolina.
Right.
Entire region of North Carolina, they were still in bondage. Then the one that everyone or a lot of people don't know about, more people are learning about, in Galveston, Texas, the general came through and he announced that the slaves were free, and there were 250,000 slaves in Texas still under slavery until June 19th, 1865. And then what has been told in history, they all begin to celebrate and dance, and that's why we have these parades and celebrations. So I've celebrated July 4th for many years, but the last few years, I just cook out and I just relax because guess what? Independence Day, we were still in slavery.
Yeah.
Independence Day was July 4th, 1776. We didn't all truly become free until June 19th, 1865. And unfortunately, 155 years later, we are still not truly free.
No, we're not.
But we're not going to be silent. I encourage you to protest. Just be careful out there. I want you to use your feet and your vote. It's
Yeah.
imperative.
Yes. Oh, thank you so much. I
I
really,
talk so much, but you know how we do.
yes.
We have to do this again. It was
Yes.
supposed to be about one thing, but I think the things we mentioned was imperative for
Yes.
the people to hear, especially the Black community.
Yes, it was very important and very informative for them to actually gain information because some we just don't know.
No, we
We
don't.
don't know. And with you having such a strong background in history, even going all the way back to your great 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 grandmother, I already know you ain't gonna tell us nothing wrong.
That's right. And
Yeah.
what I want to say is taking a swab, it is painful if they stick it up your nose. Most people, like if you want the COVID test, that's okay. But as far as the vaccine, I would not say take it, especially the black. Nope. Do not order it over the internet. Those are the fake ones. They're in the process of it. When they bring it to America, they want to give it to the blacks. The real ones are going to go to the UK first. So just be careful about that. You only have to take it if it's mandatory, and just pray, 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 pray. You
And
know,
never become that.
yeah, we're just praying that it does not become mandatory.
Yes. Yes. Because folks ain't gonna be taking it.
No, no. Mm-mm.
I know you.
Also, also, please pray about who to vote for. Like I said,
Yeah.
the whole thing is, I just want you all to pray and seek the Lord. I thank God that I have an open mind, not only on this. I think my spiritual aspect helps me along in the medical field and the science field, and just in general, everything I do, I pray. So I'm not trying to get you saved, but as a clergy person, if you are watching this, however, whatever you call God, Allah, whatever I need you to pray. Jesus is the only way. However, I encourage you to meditate, to seek God in prayer, because we are living in uncertain times. And don't be down. So you might think that God has left you, but God will never leave you or forsake you. He is right there. He is with us. He
Hmm.
is there. He knows all. Never doubt God of what He is doing. God has a purpose and plan for everything. If you've lost a loved one, if you lost your job, listen, if you lost your job and you're watching this, you on a computer, right? Start you a business.
Yes.
Take your pain and make a purpose out of it. Take
Hmm.
your test and make it a testimony. Or as they say, make your lemons into lemonade. I'm just here to encourage you not to give up and to hold on, how they would say, the older folk, to God's unchanging hands. We take our hands out of God's hands, but he never lets us go.
No, he doesn't. And I'm going to keep my prayers to you
Thank you.
staying covered while you're in the hospital, saving lives, and
Yes.
even just dealing with different types of doctors and nurses,
Absolutely.
everyone that you oversee, because
Yes.
you have to be protected in all areas.
That's right. That's right.
All areas. And I did love that picture of you guys praying. That was
Yes.
really, really nice.
Yes. And if I work tomorrow, I'll post my Wakanda cap. I'm ready to.
Okay. Yes.
I live in
Okay.
Connecticut.
Yeah. I want you to send me one like this.
And again, I am sorry for laughing, but that's what I have adopted to keep me
Yes.
calm. I understand what Cousin Kim meant. She just laughed, and now, I mean, that's how I have to do it that way. I can't be
Yes.
sad all the things that's happening. Just laugh, because God got it under control.
Yes.
Because God will take every people that killed, George Floyd, all these nasty racists. God is going to judge them. Judgment is coming.
Mm-hmm.
God knows, folks. God, but trust and believe. God, you just live right. And you give honor to God. And you walk in the ways of the Lord. And He will protect you and He will keep you and your family covered. So fear not, the Lord is with you.
Yes, definitely. Well, let's end it. and make sure you get you some rest.
Yes, ma'am.
And I'm gonna text you and check on you and everything too.
Okay, I appreciate that.
Okay, thank you. And we're gonna have
You're
to
welcome.
in on another topic.
We do.
Yes, because we got a lot to talk about.
Absolutely.
Yes, okay, love you.
Love you too.
Okay, bye bye.
Bye bye.